Good afternoon. Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming to celebrate my mother's life. I'm Todd, or Nikki. Well, there's not two of us, despite what you read in the program. Before I make a few of my own remarks about my mother, I'd like to extend a thanks to the musicians out here that appreciate it. Rebecca Larson, David Tilton, Marianne Myers, and Alan Bill. Thank you very much. And I believe there's a bagpipe player in the back as well. Desmond, we didn't get your last name, but thank you for coming today as well. I was thinking about the words I'd like to say about Mom today. The thing that sort of crossed my mind, it was kind of intense, was that she was very much a person about moments. I think one of the things she taught me was that life really was about moments, and that she really had an amazing ability to plan and recognize, celebrate, and remember moments. And I'm going to tell a little personal story. We don't tell stories in this family very often, but some of you may have heard this, I don't know. But I think this illustrates that profound sense of the moment with my mother. Some of you may not realize, although she often would complain about being the only female in a household of male jocks, that she herself was a jock, actually, growing up. She had a real love for sports, as a matter of fact. She was a star basketball player on her high school basketball team. She was the captain, I believe. She also would tell stories about growing up in New Jersey, going out to see Major League ball games with her father in some of the ball fields that don't exist out there anymore. So she and I had kind of a special connection, I think, because I was one of the athletes in the family, but baseball and basketball were my sports. And the story I'm going to tell takes place in 1987. I was living in San Francisco. I don't know where you guys were living, probably in Ukiah or somewhere nearby. But they were in town, and it was her idea to plan a moment together. And she suggested that I get tickets for the two of us to go see a San Francisco Giants game in Candlestick Park. And that she would bring a picnic lunch. And she also packed away a bottle of champagne, a couple of glasses, which I didn't know about at the time. Probably would have advised her against, although she was able to sneak it into the park somehow. In fact, my memory's pretty good about the game, but I did leverage the internet to fill in some of the details that I didn't remember. It was a Sunday afternoon, September 20th, 1987. We were among the 48,274 at the park that day. It was a beautiful day, much like it is today. And we had our seats and we were enjoying the game, and in fact it turned out to be a pretty good game. The Giants and the Reds were playing, and the Giants came from behind in the middle parts of the inning, middle parts of the game to take a 6-4 lead. Will Clark and Kenny Maldonado, Scott, I remember those two. They took a 6-4 lead going into the top of the ninth. And so at that point, the Reds started to rally. In fact, they tied the game, got the bases loaded with 2 outs. And my mother remembered she did something pretty important. We'd had our lunch and everything, but she had forgot to open the bottle of champagne. And so she hastily got the bottle of champagne out, and I got the glasses ready, we popped the cork, and we poured the champagne. And just as we were going to offer a toast to each other, we looked up, and there was a fellow named Nik. Nik, just in the process of hitting a line drive over the left field fence line that would ultimately prove the difference in the game. Reds won 10-6. But as my mother and I looked in disbelief out in the left field, we remembered what we were really there for. And we looked back at each other and clinked our glasses. And we remembered that it was the moment that was planned. There's an epilogue to the story as well. Some of you may be wondering, whatever happened to Nik? Well, he got his comeuppance 2 years later, as he signed a $6 million contract to play for the Braves, as the 1990 season actually started. He got a rare inner ear infection that caused him to get a case of vertigo. He played 9 games and would never play again, which proves the truth of the matter is you don't mess with my mother.
I'm Bob Welch, and I got to know Pat Armstrong 9 years ago after I wrote a column about how her Edgewood Elementary 6th grade class had signed a pact in 1968 that they would meet on January 1st, 2000 at the Eugene Hotel. And of course, 32 years later did exactly that, because if Pat was going to sign on to something like that, she of course would pull through. In those years that I've known her, she sent me, like some of you, tons of emails. Some personal, some bawdy Irish jokes, and way too many puns that just made you wince. After she died, I scrolled through the emails. I was curious about the last words she would say to me. It arrived, ironically, 1 month ago today, and it was about a friend of hers of whom she thought might be sharing a column idea with me in the future. She wrote, "If she contacts you, I hope you'll give her a listen. One of my cancer nurse angels. She has had colon and breast cancer herself. Keep those prayers winging, please, dear scribe." That was Pat, I think, thinking of others to the very end. Part Maud, part Mother Teresa. I've never known anyone who did so much living while she was dying. Pat was like this master gardener who nurtured her produce with utmost care, giving someone an inspirational drink or a shot of encouragement fertilizer, and some occasional pruning, chastising me, for example, when I would have a run-on symptoms. Among those in her garden, Rich, her beloved tomato man. Her 3 sons. No, their sons. She always chided me when I would write my sons. She'd say, "What, Sally didn't have anything to do with it?" She spoke of you often and highly. Friends from well, they probably were literally around the world. Doctors, nurses, U of O students that she and Rich had counseled, priests, neighbors, childhood pals, and of course her former students who had a loyalty to her like none I've ever seen. I've never known anyone who touched so many individual lives, really touched those lives, and whose life was touched by so many others. I once asked her, I was actually thinking of writing a book about Pat, and I asked her if she would give me a list of the names of the people who had influenced her into becoming the person that she is. And she, within days, had come up with a list of 92 people. And she showed me that list and had written great detail about just about every person. In the end, what matters in life isn't titles and possessions and fortunes and prestige. What matters is lives touched. And thus was Pat Armstrong's life so well lived. I will miss her writing. She was with words what Julia Childs was with a kitchen full of ingredients, what a child is with Play-Doh. She could make something magnificent out of whatever she had to work with. I will miss her 6 a.m. words of encouragement in emails. I think she read my column before anyone in Eugene. She also caught the errors, of course. I will miss the poems that she would have taped to the door when I would arrive for one of our Subway sandwich lunches. I'll miss her poetry, her stories like the one about how at Rutgers she was knitting with steel needles when the poet Robert Frost was speaking, and how she dropped a needle on the stone floor. He glared, she froze, then ran out of the class, doubled up, and threw up. I will miss the New Yorker cartoons she'd send, hecklers on poetry night, authors don't tanks. I will miss our theologic noodling. I will not miss her scolding me for grammatical errors. The woman was relentless. To close, I leave you with the words of a cousin of hers from Ireland who said, "Pat, love, just come home to us." And so she has. Meanwhile, we who remain are the richer for having been part of the garden she so lovingly tended.